All right. To explain myself, why I feel that I don't understand pretty much of what about President Obama is simply, and also the reason why I feel that some of his cabinet members should be fired. For example, John Liu. He used to be a former hedge fund manager of Citigroup. Now, if that bank sounds familiar to you, you guessed it. Citigroup is the one in many banks that received a bailout a few years ago. Uh, I got another example. Tim Geithner. He uh, he didn't pay $34,000 in taxes. The reason why he said that he didn't pay $34,000 in his taxes is simply because he said that he ain't got a notice from the IRS. I know many of you who you have paid taxes know darn well is that if you do not pay your taxes on time, you will get a notice from the IRS. Um, Also, Tim Geithner did not known that. I'm sorry, Tim Geithner known that this economic crisis was going to happen, but yet tragically he did not do anything to stop it. He's simply deeply a part of this economic crisis. Um, Also, William Daley. William Daley is he's a former CEO of J.P. Morgan and Chase. Yet again, if that bank sounds familiar to you, J.P. Morgan and Chase, you guessed it. J.P. Morgan and Chase, yet again, is one of the many banks that received a bailout a few years ago to save our economy. And that big excuse saying that, oh, these banks are too big to fail. But yet, your taxpayer dollars and our taxpayer dollars has been paid, been sent to these banks to keep America's economy afloat. There, as we assume, but pretty much to explain a little bit more why I feel that John Liu, Tim Geithner, and William Daley should be fired, and along with some of President Obama's cabinet members too. It's simply that since John Liu used to work for Citigroup, I feel that when you have somebody who used to work for a bank that received a bailout and simply do not know what they're doing, and that by having somebody who's used to be in control of a bank, that this whole excuse was too big to fail doesn't make any sense. It's just completely far-fetched to believe that these banks deserve a bailout. That but still we're still in this economic crisis. We're still 9.1%. Millions of Americans has lost their homes in the foreclosure crisis, and so on and so forth. Tim Geithner. The reason why I feel that he should be fired is simply, like I said, he known that this economic crisis was going to happen. He didn't pay $34,000 in taxes. He made this excuse that, pretty much, I guess, what Tim Geithner is saying, that he got the IRS in his back pocket. Pretty much that since Tim Geithner, literally out of perspective, that he's in charge of our money, simply, as Treasury Secretary. That simply Treasury Secretary is technically a person who's in charge of our money. And since Tim Geithner is in charge of our money, and he ain't paid $34,000 in taxes, it seems that since he doesn't know what he's doing. Simply, he doesn't know a darn thing about economics, even with taxes. And also, since he known that this economic crisis was going to happen, that somehow this guy's in charge of printing money. If I get it right, almost next to Tim Geithner. Next to Ben Bernanke, and also William Daley. The reason why I feel that he should be fired too, William Daley, is that since he used to work for J.P. Morgan and Chase, just like I said, tragically, when he was CEO of J.P. Morgan and Chase, they have jacked up rates or increased rates out of our fighting men and women who come home from Iraq and Afghanistan. If I get it right by technicality, that some of our fighting men and women who have a bank account on in J.P. Morgan and Chase. They have received notice, or they noticed that their rates of signing up with J.P. Morgan Chase has increased. Honestly, that is simply immoral and simply wrong that a bank like J.P. Morgan and Chase and someone who used to own J.P. Morgan and Chase should have done such a heartless thing of jacking up rates or increasing rates out of our fighting men and women when they come home. Our fighting men and women have taken so much sacrifice of defending America, defending our country, and since because of their sacrifice and their honor of defending America, and what they do when they come home, simply what they do, what happens when they come home, tragically is some cold-hearted bank like J.P. Morgan and Chase and a cold-hearted man like William Daley increasing rates, increasing payment of the rates to them, which it's simply unpatriotic. Technically, it's simply crazy that somehow these banks like J.P. Morgan and Chase don't care about who their customers are, even if there are fighting men and women who have sacrificed their lives in Iraq and Afghanistan, and when they come home, the still target of fees and increase of rates, and and so on and so forth. And also the majority of the cabinet members I'm talking about, simply some of them who used to work for Bill Clinton and George W. Bush's administration. Honestly, I feel that they should be fired too. Also about President Obama, which I don't understand, is just recently, just a few months ago, I found this out, I think it was like last year, that President Obama has continued. President Obama has continued one of George W. Bush's controversial policies, which is wiretapping, which by technicality that your phone lines, your phones, your cell phones, logging on the internet or any piece of telecommunication is being wiretapped to keep this country safe in the name of Homeland Security, which I think it's pretty stupid and pretty radical that President Obama has feel that every American should be wiretapped to see if there's a terrorist or something. But even though I understand that there has been some lone wolf terrorist attempts, like the Times Square bomber, the Underwear bomber, the Fort Hood shooter, and so on and so forth. But by technicality, it still does not count. It's still not much of a benefit of doubt as a reason for President Obama and our government to wiretap us, each and every last one of us. The problem is we're not all terrorists. That's the problem. The terrorists are in the Middle East. They're in Pakistan. They're in, mostly Pakistan. Some of them are in Iraq. Some of them are in Afghanistan, and so on and so forth. Honestly, I don't know why President Obama just don't have the guts to fire William Daley, Tim Geithner, and John Liu, and some of his other cabinet members who did not know what they're doing. They have failed. I don't know that President Obama has ever fired any of his cabinet members, but I think it should happen. But even though, since I mentioned Tim Geithner, he said he's going to leave after the debt deal is over, so I guess that I think he already left or something. I don't know. But yet again, I don't understand about President Obama how he doesn't have the guts to just and the compassion to fire or do the right thing of firing some of his cabinet members to keep or by technicality. I feel that since I mentioned about Tim Geithner just real quick, I'm going to mention about it again one more time. By having cabinet members like Tim Geithner, who do not know what they're doing, I feel that Tim Geithner is just simply causing or the main reason why we're in this slow process of recovery in our from this economic crisis. And simply what I'm saying that if President Obama fires John Liu, Tim Geithner, and William Daley, everything will be back to normal somewhat. That our process from recovering from this economic crisis will come from a snail pace, somewhat to, I guess, pretty much a roadrunner pace, and so on and so forth. Honestly, I agree with Dylan Ratigan is that we have a bought Congress. And since because we have a bought Congress, both the two-party system is not doing the right thing to put America back on track, to rebuild this country. And pretty much, I'm going to explain, I'm just going to go to the point why I feel that we should need a third-party revolution. And those facts I just told you from part 1 and 2 and from part 3. The two-party system has failed, ladies and gentlemen. I feel that I'm the voice of the voiceless right now. That I say what people think, pretty much. That right now, I'm really at the breaking point that why should I re-elect President Obama in 2012? And even though he's making this bus tour, this bus tour of going to states that succeeding, but yet not to the ones that are failing. I don't get it. That simply saying screw you to the other states that are failing, but yet I want to make a point that the states are succeeding, which means America is somewhat slowly succeeding. Pretty much, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sick and tired of the two-party system screwing the 90% middle-class, mainstream Americans and hard-working Americans in this country. Those are the people who built the roads, built the bridges, protect and serve our streets, taking you to a hospital in less than 5 or 10, maybe 15 minutes or less. These are the people who quickly take out a fire when a home is on fire, that is being destroyed, and so on and so forth. Those are the people, are the fabric, simply the backbone of America. It's not the corporations. It's not, like Mitt Romney said, oh, corporations are people. Corporations are not people. Corporations don't create the jobs. It's small businesses who create the jobs. It's so stupid of how Republicans and the GOP want to lie to you and feel that defend the top 2% who are not paying their taxes. The 90% middle class mainstream Americans and hardworking Americans, they've been paying their taxes for a very long time. And George W. Bush want to go run around and say, let's protect the rich. So I feel that maybe the rich should get a tax break and put the 90% and all the other people who those other people should start paying the taxes because the rich people are the good ones. It's so